Okay, here we go. Electoral college versus the popular vote. Okay, I understand this might not be the most exciting thing, but if Mr. Hatfield tells you, it might not be exciting, but it matters. It matters that we know what kind of system we're in the first place. How do we vote? What are we voting for? And if you want to change it, how do you change it? So what I'm talking about is the electoral college versus popular vote. Which one would be more fair for this country, and which one would you guys agree with? Okay, here we go. First off, we kind of got to understand what the electoral college is. Hopefully you guys sort of know what it is already. But it was created during the Constitutional Convention of 1787 with our founding fathers. Of course, the Constitution was created then. And that's where this was created, Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. You can look it up yourself. Each state, in this system of voting, each state has a certain number of electors. So in this voting system, the president won't exactly win with the national popular vote. Instead, they'll win with the certain amount of electors they have to get. So the total number of electors for each state is based on the number of people they have in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. So for example, California has 53 representatives in the House and 2 senators, so they have 55 total electoral votes for their state. Let's go on to the next one. So in total, there's 538 electors for the whole country. And during the race, the president needs 270 of those votes in order to win the election. Popular vote is not the deciding factor. It can be a deciding factor if no one reaches this 270, but then again, it'll still go into the House and won't exactly matter. And electors have a priority to vote for the state they represent. So in the election, each state will have a popular vote, and whoever wins the popular vote in that state will win the amount of electors for that said state. I have a YouTube video right here. Hopefully it won't be too long, and you start at 56 seconds. Explain this. Schoolhouse of Rock. Here we go.
Those who wrote our Constitution had the idea for this plan, and it's been used in our elections since our government began. When you pull down on my levers for the person of your choice, you're also choosing state electors who will have the final voice. They're called the electoral college, and they'll need to stipulate who the voters have selected to be the winner in each state. And the number of electors that your state is going to get is based on total population. That's the formula that's set. And when the popular vote is counted to find a winner in each state will pledge all of its electors.
Okay, that's all I can show. That's a little better explanation right there of how it works. Dang, sorry. So as I said, yeah, that explains a little bit more. Those for the Electoral College, they say it gives better representation for each and every state. They say if well, I'll get to that. I'll explain that a little bit more, especially the less populated states. The population distribution is quite not that fair in the country. Of course, California has a lot more than Utah does, based on population. And Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Madison, founding fathers of this country had a fear of a national popular vote because they said that it may, first off, voters may not be well educated enough, and they could vote someone into office that is not exactly good for this country and could be actually lead to a lot of bad things. And they say that the whole country may not be represented as well. Like I said, with the population distribution being so haywired, it could create a lot of problems. This is a political cartoon by Michael Ramirez. He's a political, what's the word? What's the word? Political analyst. It shows what a country would look like if it was based on a national popular vote, showing that California, Texas, Florida, New York, and some of Illinois would pretty much have all the say in the election if it was a national popular vote, because obviously they have all the or most of the population within their states, and states like Utah, Idaho, and all the rest of these pretty much don't even have a say. And then they also say with alliances and voter fraud, the Electoral College allows for alliances, especially with minority groups in this country, to be more represented and protected, and make sure if a leader is elected, if they're biased, that they'll still be protected against those leaders. And they say voter fraud is harder to commit in this system. With the popular election, there would have to be a lot more recounts and a lot more frequent background checks, because there would be a lot more people voting. But for the national popular vote, people would actually say, aren't you actually more represented? Because everyone has equal vote, everyone has one vote, and there would be no swing states. A swing state is pretty much a state that has a big deciding factor on who would become the president, depending on the year, sort of like Pennsylvania or Michigan. And they would say states wouldn't even matter at this point. It's just you deciding who you want. And they say that more people would vote in the election, because think about it. If you go out and you see the numbers out there, and you see that person winning is winning by a small margin, and you voted for that guy, and you know one of those numbers was because of you, wouldn't you want to go vote the next time again? Or someone that didn't vote, someone that wanted to vote but couldn't, or just didn't, or decided not to, would be more influenced to go out and vote the next time, see if they had more of an impact. And here's a huge one right here. They say with an electoral college, you could win the presidency without winning the popular vote, without having majority or plurality. How does that make sense? In the national popular vote, you would actually win the race if you had enough votes, if you had more votes than the other candidate. And the perfect example of this is in 2016 election of Donald Trump. He won at the electoral college, but he lost the national popular vote by 3 million votes. And people say, well, that's ridiculous. Come on. Most of the plurality of the country wanted the president, or wanted Hillary, but Donald Trump still won the election. So they believe that's something that's really unfair, and that's happened four other times, or Jackson, Hayes, Cleveland, and George Bush in 2000. What I still think the Electoral College is the best option. It's not great, it's not perfect, just like democracy. Democracy sucks, but it's the best thing we have. And I think it gives, like I said, better representation, especially for the small states, even like Utah. If you lived in California, California wants different things than Utah would, and if the national popular vote was the case, or if it was implemented in this country, they would have the most say, and Utah wouldn't be well represented. And I think, as you think about it, political ideologies in this system of voting shifts a lot. Democratic Party really hasn't, Democratic or Republican Party really hasn't dominated. It kind of shifts in between, which I really like about this. And let's go on to the next slide. I think my solution, just educate yourself better on this. Educate yourself on who you're voting for. Know who you're voting for. Know what you're voting against. And understand the Electoral College and how it works. Understand that when you go out and vote, you're not exactly voting directly for who you want for president. You're voting for the electors that you want in order for them to vote for president. Did I explain that well? I don't know. You're voting for electors who vote for you. And hopefully whoever wins plurality or majority in the state will vote for the guy you want. And last solution, just vote. If you're really complaining about who's the leader of this country, just go out and vote yourself. If you don't vote, I believe you don't really have a right to complain. And then there's my works cited right there.
Got questions and we'll move on? Yes.
So I know there's like a huge thing going on of people coming from another country and putting in their vote. How easy is it? Like, what do you have to do to be able to vote?
Meaning, easy, like saying if they were like undocumented immigrants, illegal immigrants?
Yeah, I know it's like, I heard of that. It's a huge debate.
There was known to be at least 1 million, or not 1 million, 500,000 illegal immigrants voting in this election. So it's pretty easy. I don't know the specifics in voting. I know you usually need an ID and something to show that you're a citizen, but there's a lot of loopholes into that. And I don't know the specifics of that. I'm sorry, but that's what I know.
How do you feel about like other like voting systems, like like the alternative voting system?
The alternative, like,
No, like alternative voting system. It's like a different system.
um,
other than those two.
well, like for example, like in Great Britain, they don't really have well, they do, but it's mostly based on the, what do they call it? It's like the House, their Parliament. They have that, but I think first off, having the people having the say in the elections is most important, and I also agree with maybe having a straight national popular vote wouldn't be the smartest idea because a lot of people don't know what they're doing. So I think so far this is the best we have, but hopefully we can find something better because it's not perfect at all.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you.